everyone, and welcome to the Wooly Wonka Fibers podcast. My name is Anne. Today is August 21st, 2016. This is episode 27. This is a video podcast about my knitting, spinning, my hand dye business, my indie design business for knitwear, all kinds of crafty good things. If you are a brand new viewer, tuner inner, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to check out my podcast. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you very much for continuing to tune in and spend a little time with me. I appreciate it. You can find me on the web at www.woolywonkafiber.com. That's my website and the shop. And I'm on Ravelry with a Ravelry group, which is Wooly Wonka Fibers, as well as on Facebook and Instagram. And then if you're looking for my personal Ravelry pages, you can find me under Bunny Spinner. So how is everyone doing? Are you guys kind of getting here to the end of the summer, end of August, hopefully some cooler weather? It has been perfect. Absolutely perfect weather here. We've had some rain in the afternoons, which we always can use here in the high desert. And I think yesterday our high was about 76. Light breeze, sun, kind of high fluffy clouds. It's been really, really nice. I've been spending a lot of time this weekend out on the deck. My husband actually took the younger dog to kind of remind her about camping. So Lizzie's just over 18 months right now, and she's figured a lot of stuff out, but she's still kind of goofy, and she definitely has her sort of teenager puppy moments where she gets so excited about things she can't really listen. And so he thought, well, let's take her and see how she does, because he has a lot of kind of guy weekends that they take the dogs and they go fishing or hunting or whatever. So anyway, they're off doing that. I'm home with our older dog Rowan, and she and I have been having a lot of porch time, just enjoying sitting outside. So let's get started on some fun crafty things. I've got a ton of stuff to show you guys today. So first off, I wanted to share a finished object. These are my Desert Vista Dyeworks self-striping socks in the Janis colorway. I did a 1x1 twisted rib up here at the cuff, my usual 64 stitch leg and foot, fish lips kiss heel, and then a wide toe at the end. I really like this colorway. It's kind of funky. The inspiration was the Rolling Stones cover that had Janis Joplin on it. This is from the, I think it's the Women in Music group that came out, I want to say June of this year. Anyway, just plain vanilla socks. But another, I think these were 300 yards is what I used up. So anyway, these counted towards my stash dash total, and the box of socks knit along, and the knitting broomstick year of socks. So these are done. Kind of fun. I should mention, I guess, the fish lips kiss heel I actually did in some scrap yarn that I had. This is a my shop base Rhiannon, and the Desert Vista Dyeworks Viso sock are the same base, the 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. So I had this colorway, which isn't exact to this color, but pretty close. So I tucked those in because what I had found, and I talked about this a little bit last week, when you insert the fish lips kiss heel, it breaks. If you just knit everything with the self striping, it breaks up the striping pattern here, and that bothered me. So I just didn't do that. I used scrap yarn, and so probably for the other self-striping socks that I knit, I will wind up doing that same thing, to do a contrast heel just to keep the stripy goodness going. So those are in the books. That's done. So that is the only finished object that I have for this week. I am so close, and I think 99% sure I will have this done today. The sample knit that I'm working on, that's the lace cardigan for the shop. I have about 6 rows to finish knitting the sleeve cap on the second sleeve. Everything else is done. The body's done, the bands are done, the first sleeve is done and set in. So just have that one left to do. And so if I can get that finished and attach the buttons, that yardage, which will probably be about, I don't, maybe about 825 meters, will go towards stash dash, but I am not going to hit my 15K mark. There's no way. I currently, before I put the sweater in, assuming I finish that today, 12,813 meters. So I will probably be above 13.5, but I won't get to 15K. So that's okay. You know, unexpected surgery, just, it was a lot. I knew it was going to be kind of a push anyway, but I just had some days that I was not as productive as I thought I would be, and that's okay because I did get a lot of things knit, so that's a bonus. And I'll do a recap, I think, next week, just to talk about what projects I finished and kind of just sum it all up. It's been fun. I've enjoyed doing it. It was a great summer type project, and I think I probably will, you know, participate again next year. I haven't really been doing anything for the Ravelenics. I don't know. I was staying focused on stash dash, I guess, and didn't really get motivated to pick a team or do anything. I mean, I'm sure I had some projects like the socks probably would go towards something, but I didn't tune in to find out what that would be. So things that are works in progress. Technically, that sweater that I just talked about is a work in progress, but hopefully won't be for long. I think once I get that off the needles, I'm going to try to get a couple smaller design projects done before I put another garment back on the needles. I certainly have garments in the queue that need to be worked on, but I need like a little palette cleanser, so I'm going to try to do that probably for the next week or two, and then put another garment on the needles in September. So more information on that, you know, as those projects roll through, like I do, since I can't show you very much until they're released. I will have a couple other releases in the next few weeks for the shawl lovers in the group. And speaking of shawls, the other thing that is on my needles currently is the Coffee Date shawl. This is a pattern by CC Almon. It's part of her Coffee with CC collection. It is a, as you can see, 3-color fingering weight shawl. From this cute little tip down to the end of the white section is one repeat of the 6 different patterns that make up the shawl. And this is a 4-pay pattern, so I'm not going to talk too much about the patterning, other than to say that it's fun and it's a quick knit, and I'm just enjoying working on it. So I've started the blue right here. I've started the second repeat of the 6 patterns. This is a big shawl. You can knit it until you run out of yarn, basically, but it uses about 1,000 to 1,200 yards of fingering weight, so 3 colors, 400 yards per skein. And I should mention, I'm knitting this in my Ceridwen sock. This is Miss Fanny Bryce, Unicorn, and Low Tide are those 3 colors that I'm using, which I really like. I think the contrast is good. I love that kind of dark, purpley purple color right there. So this will just be my kind of relaxation knitting project, my evening knitting project. I'd like to have it done by the end of September. Jilly and the Knitting Broomstick is hosting not only the Coffee with CC knit along, she's also hosting a Gilmore Girls knit along, and since this is themed on coffee, I think that would be a very appropriate project. And the Gilmore Girls knit along runs August and September. It's a 2-monther over there. So yeah, I think I'm going to try to get that done by the end of September, but you know, that's 6 weeks, so I'll chip away at it, see how I go. I may toss a pair of just plain vanilla socks on the needles. I have a couple of Christmas gift requests, and then those are the kind of things I can, you know, take as a little more portable project for standing in line, going to the post office, doctor visits, all those good things that you do during the week. And just to have, you know, that if I have something else that needs to go in front of those to work on, it won't hurt them to sit for a little while and I can pick them up whenever. So that's all for the works in progress currently. I've kind of shrunk some stuff down. So hopefully I'll be able to make some good progress on the things that I'm focusing on. That was part of the fun of Stash Dash, was being able to cast on a lot of new things and work on new things. Kind of gave me the license to knit. So that was fun. But I do tend to be a knitter who likes to start a project, finish a project, as opposed to having a lot of works in progress. That's just not how I normally like to do stuff. So nothing wrong with it, and I'm sure that there are times when I'll have more things on the needles, but at least for right now, that's all I've got going, and that's plenty. So let's talk about spinning. I did finish up some a skein this week. This is my Cloudy Day yarn. It is a combination of Polworth and Sparkle. I think you can kind of see the sparklies in there a little bit. The original bat was from Funky Carolina. Deep Stash. So this one is from my Spin the Bin project. I got 476 yards of a 2-ply out of 4 ounces, which that's really great yardage. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this, though. It's really squishy and really soft, and I love all those grays. There's a little bit of cream, there's a silver gray, there's kind of a weathered wood brown in there, and then dark blue gray. Maybe a shawl. I'm not sure I want socks out of this because it's so soft and squishy. So I have to think about what I do with this, because 476 yards is quite a bit of yardage. I'm still debating on whether I want to spin a companion dark gray color to go with it. I may spin that up and see if the weight winds up being about the same, because I think that would be pretty as a 2-color shawl, but I haven't gotten that far yet. The gray is in my Spin the Bin, but I decided I wanted something a little brighter for this week to tackle. And so, oh, and I should say that this 476 yards, whatever that is converted to meters, is part of my Stash Dash total. So that's been counted already in that 12,813. So next up on the wheel this week, I decided I wanted something with some fall colors because I am so ready for fall. I know a lot of people love the summer, and that's great. I don't. I don't like hot weather. I'd much rather do stuff outside with a sweater on than outside with no, you know, no real clothes on, trying to stay cool. So when summer goes, I'm totally content. I love fall and I love winter. Spring is okay as long as it's not too hot. Summer's my least favorite month. I mean, I don't hate it, but kind of hard to hate a season, I guess. Can hear my mom saying, "What's it ever done to you?" I just am not a summer person. So there you go. Anyway, random tangent. This week I am spinning up another Spin the Bin fiber. This one is from Fat Cat Knits. It's the 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon base, which is basically a sock yarn fiber, in the colorway Indian Corn. And this is half of the braid. It's a little darker in real life, I think. It doesn't read as dark as it does in real life, but it's got you know, pumpkin orange. It's got some plums. It's got some yellows, some kind of chestnut browns. So this is half of the 4 ounces. I've already split the first 4 ounces off, and I'm spinning this as a fractal spin, so I'll spin the first half with really narrow strips, and then I'll keep this half with some chunkier pieces so that the colors line up in certain portions, and then other portions are barber pulled. So these will be socks. I'm 99% sure that's where I'm going to go with these. So that's what I'm working on this week in spinning. You know, it's really weird because somewhere in my head I had decided that I didn't like spinning merino very much, and I don't know why I thought that, because every time I put merino of any kind, superwash or non-superwash, on the wheel, I think, what a lovely spin this is. So I have no idea where that little tidbit showed up in my brain, but at any rate, that's merino. I'm enjoying this spin. Socks are in the works for that braid when it's done, and I think that that will be a great fall colorway. So I'm enjoying that. In general, I like all of Ginny's colorways. They're very saturated. I like her color sense. They're a lot of fun. I have another sock yarn blend of hers also in the bin to spin. That's a completely different colorway vibe, and I may do that one next, or we'll see how fast I get this one spun. Okay, so I think that's it for what I'm currently working on. I wanted to share some more finished items with you guys from Filament, and then this week I'm going to add in a little few minutes where I talk about some of my sewing projects. So if you're here for just the knitting and spinning, I'm going to talk to you about Filament next, and then if you want to click off, that's fine. If you're interested in sticking around for the rest, hang in there. So Filament, we're down to the last 3 preview pieces for the 8-piece collection. The patterns will all debut on Wednesday, the 24th. I am recording this on Sunday, the 21st, with plans to upload it on the 22nd, and then the patterns will come out this Wednesday, the 24th. And again, you have options. You can download the patterns individually. You can download the ebook from Ravelry. You can order a print copy of the patterns, and then the print book comes with a coupon code on the back that gets you the free ebook download. So you can pull the PDFs, just print what you need, but also have the pretty book to look through. So a bunch of different options to kind of toss around and decide. We are still taking pre-orders on that book, which gives you free shipping in the US and then discounted shipping to Canada and elsewhere in the world. So the first of these goodies I will share is one of my patterns called Milkweed. It is this pair of socks. These were knit in the Woolen Rabbit Pearl sock yarn base, which is her merino nylon, superwash merino and nylon sock base in the corn silk colorway. And these are knit from the cuff down. So you start right here with the ribbing. Then they have a lace pattern on the leg and onto the foot, heel flap, and a rounded toe. I didn't get these on this blocker very straight. Rounded toe. The lace pattern has a lot of stretch to it because there is an interspersed rib here. These are knit in 3, or written up in 3 sizes for women, small, medium, large. You could probably customize as much as you would want to. If you've got a little extra yarn and you wanted to make the leg taller, you can do that. Obviously, the foot length you can customize. And then the circumference you can play with a little bit, but like I said, they're 3 sizes. So these are inspired by, there was a 1930s beauty cream called Milkweed cream that was supposed to, you know, do what all beauty creams do, keep you looking youthful and radiant. So the lace pattern that I picked reminded me of the milkweed seed pods, as did the color. I love Kim's color sense for her fall palette is gorgeous. So those are available in the collection. Next up, I wanted to talk about this pattern, which is Kathleen's. This is Beaten, inspired by the designer Cecil Beaton, who is very well known in the 30s. Lots of very fine detail and just little sort of couture things about his designs. So this is a unisex sized pullover. Obviously has lots of gorgeous cables. This sample is knit in Harrisville Highland. It's their worsted weight. So it has this great honeycomb pattern on the side panels, and then braided a small braid panel, and then this great kind of diamond and twisted braid panel. Raglan slate shaping on the sleeves. So let's see if I can get that to show right here. You can see those are set in with the raglan. They've also got the honeycomb pattern and then the twisted braid. And more cables on the back. If you're a cable person, this one is totally up your alley. And it's got this great shawl collar where everything is knit all together, all contiguously. I love this pattern. I think it's a great, I mean, this screams fall to me. It's just such a wonderful, like, go outside in a cozy sweater, you know, you've got your jeans and your hiking boots on. You totally see this. I would wear this every single day. So this is also in the filament #1 collection. Multiple sizes on this one, so you can knit it for you, you could knit it for a loved one. All kinds of great details on that one. And then the last pattern to share with you guys is the one that I have on, which should tell you how much I love you all, because it is still August and I'm wearing a wool sweater to show you. This is Claudette. One of my favorite, other favorite movie stars from the 1930s is Claudette Colbert. If you've not ever seen It Happened One Night with Clark Gable, turn this off, go find it on Netflix or Amazon or wherever you can rent it from, rent it and watch it. It is one of the best movies of that era, I think. I loved it. It's something I watched lots of times with my grandfather. He was a huge fan as well. She's great at comedy. She's just got a wonderfully droll presentation. And not only did she do comedy, if you've seen pictures of her in Cleopatra, which is a film that she did, I mean, she's just a knockout. She's everything that you would want a Hollywood glamour girl to look like. So anyway, Claudette Colbert is the inspiration for this. I wanted to do kind of a 1930s sort of straight jacket type sweater without it being heavy. So I knit this in Harrisville's Shetland, so it's a fingering weight yarn. My test knitter knit it in Wooly Wonka Ayrton sock, and it came out beautifully. So you don't have to go with Tweety if you don't want. It would be a great fingering weight sweater to wear as a layering piece. It's just dressy enough you could wear it to the office. So let me show you some of the details. Sorry, boy, it's folded. Got fold marks on it. Anyway, it's got this pretty little detail on the cuffs, plain front with raglan shaped sleeves, so everything's knit all in one piece. The only finishing you have is underarm. And then the entire back is the same easy lace. Let me show you that side. And it is a longer length. Sorry guys, I don't have enough space here to show you this, but it is low hip length. So you can adjust it to some extent if you want it shorter or longer. I liked it longer because I plan to wear it as a layering piece over something else, either a vest or a collared shirt. I just tossed this on with my t-shirt today because I had it. It is a very straightforward knit. The lace is presented only in chart form, but if you've either knit lace or have some basic ideas about how to read your knitting so you know where the yarn overs and the decreases are supposed to line up, easy peasy. You won't have a problem with this. I think it's a 4-row repeat. So there's lots of things you could do. If you wanted to extend this lace, you know, further up the arm, you could do that. In changing the length of the body, you won't have any trouble altering that either, because there's very little, because the repeats are so short, it's not like you would have to take a whole big chunk out and miss part of the lace patterning. So if you need it to be shorter, not a problem, just work less rows back and forth. Just finished off with a really simple garter stitch bands and garter stitch collar. So that's it. That is the collection of 8 pieces. They're, like I said, they are all going to be available as of Wednesday. We would love to have you join us in the filament group on Ravelry. If you go to groups and search under filament, you should be able to find us. We're going to be hosting some knit-alongs in September and October, which I'll talk about probably next week. If you guys want to start planning ahead or think you might like to knit one of the sweaters as kind of a fall sweater piece, or a Rhinebeck sweater if you're headed off to Rhinebeck. So all of those, like I said, available on Wednesday. It's been really fun. Kathleen and I have been really excited about sharing all these designs with you. We're already looking ahead. If you have interest and are on Pinterest, we have some kind of preliminary boards. We just finished deciding fall 2017 color palette and what we're doing for that particular issue. So there's some sort of concept photos in there for spring, summer, and winter, and we'll be adding the fall ones over the next week as well. That'll take us through all 4 issues in 2017. If y'all have any questions or comments or anything like that about filament, want to know more about it, please let me know. You can always leave me a message via YouTube. You can message me on Ravelry. You can contact me through the website, the main website, and that'll shoot me an email if you're so inclined. I'd love to hear from you about that as well. So I think that's it for filament. So my last bit today, and I'm not sure, so last week I had mentioned that I was thinking about adding on some sewing tidbits to the podcast, and I had a lot of people who said, yes, please. So I decided I would go ahead and do that, since obviously there's some interest. I'm not sure that I'm going to do this every single week, because I don't know that I'll have that much to show. My spinning or my sewing is much more of a sort of casual, I'll pick it up when I have time, and sometimes I don't have time. But when I have something finished or something new to show you guys that's more than just, here's 3 stitches on this, I thought I'd do a little segment. Just to put things in perspective, one of the theaters that I worked in many moons ago, they used to have a Sunday concert series, and so we would get different artists in on Sunday nights, which was a way that the traveling companies that came through with the off-Broadway musicals or theater pieces, they usually had Sundays off, and so that was their day off. We got caught up on repairs for the costumes and did cleaning and all of that stuff, but then we would have a concert series on Sundays. And it was a complete mixed bag. You know, Jay Leno came and did stand-up comedy one night. We had Jerry Lee Lewis in one night. This particular Sunday that I was so excited about, and my boss just laughed at me all season long, was about halfway through the summer stock season. And the person who was coming in for the evening was Barbara Cook. And if you are someone who loves Broadway musicals, you'll know that Barbara Cook is the person who let's say, created most of the roles for which Shirley Jones was well known for in movies. So like Laurie in Oklahoma, Barbara Cook did it on Broadway first, Shirley Jones did it in the movie. She also did Carousel, she did Showboat, just tons of the sort of big name Broadway musicals. And she came in with her quartet, her jazz quartet, and she did 2 acts. Basically, she did kind of a upbeat first act. There was a brief intermission, and then she did a second act that was kind of more cool jazz. She is an absolutely lovely, lovely person. She was so gracious and so kind, and her quartet, who had been with her for eons, you know, they were just lovely, gracious people. Her first act dress was bright, I mean, was fire red with tons of sequins. It was a floor-length gown, bugle beads, just from here, from the neck to the floor, covered with hand-sewn beads. Her second act dress was blue, dark blue, same thing, neck to hem. And my boss was dreading this because every time that she would gesticulate, those sequins would catch and stuff would get ripped off and fall to the floor of the stage. And so at the first intermission, we went out with a broom and a dustpan and we swept up all the red sequins. And when she took that dress off and put the blue one on, we were already in hand sewing the sequins back onto the dress. And she actually did 2 shows that day. So we had a Sunday matinee and then we had a Sunday evening. My boss thought this was like penance. He was so glad I was there because I was like, ooh, I get to hand sew sequins on all day long. So we did that for the red dress twice and the blue dress twice, where all the sequins had to be sorted and you had to sort of figure out, because it was an ombre, so lighter sequin colors down to darker sequin colors, you had to figure out where to put the colors back onto this the 2 dresses. So I was in heaven, and that should tell you that I kind of like lots of little teeny tiny stitch type things. I am, however, rusty because I haven't done that part of my life in a while. So it's been fun for me kind of getting back into doing some sewing stuff, just because it is no longer a job and therefore it is fun. Sometimes like knitting on a deadline is not so fun. Now that I'm kind of doing sewing as just a relaxation thing, it's fun. It's fun again. So anyway, long story to basically tell you I like hand sewing, which I know is not everybody's thing, but I enjoy it. So I'm working on kind of 2 things right now. The first of which is a series of quilt blocks that go through, it's 12 blocks in total, and they're kind of in a sort of primitive colonial style, but using cotton flannel as opposed to wool flannel and more embellishments than you would normally have, but kind of Victorian crazy quilt feel. So this is the first block. Sorry, let me do that. The patterns are called Bertie's Year. This bird right here, oops, is Bertie. So this is the January block. The centerpiece is done with a fusible applique. Let's see if I can get this close enough you can see if it will focus. Yeah, you can see a little bit on the leaves. So the edges are left unfinished. And then you do a blanket stitch along the edge of each piece once they're fused in place. And then you add a little embroidery, the snowflakes, the leaf veins, the little tie on his hat, all of those. And then you do the pieced border, which is then attached, and then you add more embroidery on that, and then finish it off with just the sashing. So this one is completely done, ready to go. You had your choice with this pattern. You could just do each of these individually as its own standalone piece, which I thought about doing. I think these are really cute. I think they'd be great. But the second option is to actually put them all together in like a crib size or wall size quilt. So I'm going to do that. I just decided I wanted to see them all together. So this is one of 12. The second one, I have finished the centerpiece. This is the February one. Birdie and his little girlfriend there with the bleeding hearts. Everything's getting kind of washed out. The pink is much brighter. But anyway, all of the pieces are on and the embroidery is done on that. I really like these patterns. They do a lot of fun little details. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, that shows up pretty good. There's little buttons. They're added on. So this needs its version of this border. The February border is in dark greens. So I have half the pieces for that cut, and I need to piece those together and then attach them to the center panel. The embroidery that goes on the border for the February block is less, so I think it will take me less time. This one actually had a fair amount of stitching on it, so it was one of those I picked up and put down and picked up and put down. So that's where I am with that. Like I said, I have not done very much on these. I'm not quite up to reaching all the way across my cutting table with my rotary cutter, so I probably won't get anything done on this until I'm a little bit more healed up from the surgery. But I just wanted to show you guys where I was on those. So that's kind of the quilting end of the sewing group. We'll call it that. Anyway, so that's where I am with that. And then I decided this year that I wanted to do some handmade holiday gifts. And so I thought I would make a small group of ornaments. And like I said, I'm a little rusty, so I thought I would make one for archery first, and then I could see what I wanted to do for other gifts. So if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen this. This little guy the pattern is from Little House Needleworks. I loved it because it has a sheep, right? Kind of hard not to. This I stitched on a 32 count linen, meaning there's 32 stitches, 32 threads per inch in this fabric, and the pattern called for it to be over 2 of those stitches, so this would have been basically twice as big, but I kind of liked it in the mini version. And I'm going to do these all as little pillow ornaments. So I backed it with this houndstooth check flannel that I had left over from the block that I showed you for January for Birdie. So this is basically done, except it needs to have cording put around the edges to finish those off, and then make the hanger at the top. So that is something I will do this week to get this completely done. But it came out really cute and I was happy with it, so I decided to forge along, and here is the next thing that I'm working on. It's another Little House Needlework mini, this one for my parents. It's just a little colonial brick house with pine trees. And I am doing this one, it's on the same linen, but I'm doing it over the 2 threads as opposed to the 1 thread. And you can see the size difference is quite marked. Let's do that. So these are just about the same count, meaning they're the same size on the pattern. If you do it over 1 thread, you come up with this size, and if you do it over 2 threads, you're coming up with that size. So this is just about the final size of this. Obviously I still have this size to do, side to do. And one thing that's kind of interesting, like I said, I've been kind of out of the sewing loop, cross-stitch sewing loop for a while. So this little guy was worked with DMC floss, which is just the basic embroidery floss you can find in almost any craft store online. It's they've got probably thousands of colors, and it's just a basic cotton embroidery thread. It's what I've always used. It's what I used when I was a little girl, when I learned how to embroider. Never really put a lot of thought into it, but now there's a whole other group, kind of like in the world of knitting, where you can buy hand-dyed floss. And so that's actually what I'm using for this particular project. And you can see there's like a little bit of variegation right there. So even though it's it's a solid color, it's more like a tonal dye yarn. You can see it also in the leaves right here. These are slightly darker than this little section of the arc. And I really like it. It gives it an antiqued look to it without having to do anything. And I know there are ways that you can manipulate the DMC floss, like working with two strands of the floss, working one color and one color together, as opposed to two strands of the same color. But hey, if the dyer's going to do the work for you, I am all about that. So so this has been kind of a fun little trip for me. One of the first museum internships that I did, and yes, this is getting into the is there anything you haven't done? One of the museum internships that I did in New England was actually working with a sampler collection from, I think their earliest one was 1763, and it ran through the Civil War, the collection of samplers that they had. And obviously at the time when the young ladies stitched the sampler, the thread colors were not on purpose tonal dyed. And then of course over the years, as things fade, as things hang on the wall and the sunlight hits them, there's fading of a different kind. Or if they were backed, when you put a backing on here to frame something, if that was done with a thin piece of wood or cardboard, the acid in the wood starts to deteriorate and discolor and stain any fabric that's touching it. So you kind of achieve the same antiqued look with this, obviously without being detrimental or destructive to the floss and the items that you're using to create the thing. Too much information? Possibly. Anyway, so I'm working on those. I've got a couple others that I thought I would do as Christmas gifts, and nothing crazy. I don't need to make one for every single person I know, but I thought it would be fun to do 3 or 4. And they're great kind of hors d'oeuvre type projects, because the stitch count on this is only like 50 by 50. So, and there's plenty of open space in this design. Well, this design as well. These sort of primitive, I think is what they are now calling them. So I'm going to work on those, and we'll keep you guys posted on those. Those are kind of my current thing that I'm fixated on doing for my fun time. So you may see several of those as we go. Probably will not be a lot of clothing sewing. I certainly have done that in the past, but I need a little more instant gratification, I think, is what I'm trying to say. We'll see. Maybe when we've got some cold, rainy days and I feel like spending the day down at my cutting table, I'll do that. Just no plans right at this second to be doing sewing of the clothing type. So anyway, I hope that was fun for you guys. I hope that you enjoyed that. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have about what I'm doing or how I've done something. it's been an interesting little experience to dip my toe back into this because, you know, there are crazy cross stitch people, just like there are crazy knitter people, and they all have YouTube videos and tutorials and websites I didn't even know existed, and so that's been kind of fun. It's a little rabbit hole, but that's okay. I think it's good to expand your horizons and, you know, something enjoyable. It's certainly not hurting anybody for me to chip away at some gifts for the holidays. So that's it for this week. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate, as always, that you choose to spend some time with me. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week with family and friends, and enjoy some great crafty time. Have a good crafty week, y'all. I will talk to you in another week. Bye.